Hello, everyone. It's me, Virge. And by the way, I'm going by Virge now, just so you know. Virge, as in on the verge, because that's me. Hello from California, where I am with family. My other brother, Hal, who some of you have seen the video I did with him way back on energy and electricity. And I'm inspired to do a video right now because I just got off an amazing call with my friend Robin, who I met here through YouTube. Thank you so much, Robin, for your beautiful presence and inspiration this morning. Also, Peter is watching me out the window. You guys got to see this. He would really like to be inside. So Robin inspired me in a couple ways. And just to let you guys know, Robin reached out to me. I was really stoked on this too. You might remember the Economy of Desire video I did a long time ago, just saying, hey, if you tell me something that you would like and then what you can give for that, maybe we can do a little giving and receiving. And she just said she'd like to have a call and offered to give me some monetary support. And I think it was a really beautiful, beneficial, us creating our own little economy in that. So that was really special. And remember, in the About section of this video, there's my email, and feel free to email me if there's something you'd like to ask for and offer in return. Doesn't need to be money necessarily, although isn't money great? So I actually wanted to just touch on a couple of things that Robin really inspired me about during our call and just share with you guys. One of them was her asking, in this past year that I've been doing what I'm calling the Wild Way Home, which, by the way, is the name of my book. And I believe it's pretty much done being written. So I'll be spending the next months editing and formatting that and hope to have it to a major publisher. My goal is Penguin by the end of the year. So lots and lots and lots of amazing stories on the road that I've been writing about and recording that I haven't shared here that will be in my book, The Wild Way Home. So I hope that you guys will look forward to that. And Robin just asked me, so over the past year, as many of you who have been following me on YouTube know, I haven't been working a steady job. In fact, a lot of generous donations through YouTube, through my channel and through my website have really helped keep me afloat. So thank you to all those who have donated to me. It's been massively helpful. And, money has come in other unexpected, miraculous ways. My credit card has helped supplement my life. And I know that that's a tricky decision to make. And yet it's been a risk that I've taken to be able to do all of the work and processing that I have been doing for the past year. And Robin's question for me was, do you always find that you have just enough to get you through? Do you always, despite all the fear, all the uncertainty, and there's a lot of risk and uncertainty in my life, do you always find that you have just enough to get you through? And I just had to say yes. And I just wanted to share that again. I feel like for me, it's about that middle way because, we have this idea of like money miraculously coming to us, and it does. And I think that the times it miraculously comes to us is often when we're willing to go show up for whatever work is being put before us. So an example of that balance is I am actually about to start a new job in New Mexico. I'm very excited. It's going to be at a mountain adventure company with horses and other animals doing wilderness trips. And so you'll be seeing me there. And it's just one of those things where I told Robin, the most difficult part is the uncertainty that comes before the money does show up. And I also am very aware that I I grew up in a wealthy family. I've been privileged in so many ways. And that consciousness of that is always something that I keep in mind. And it's also not going to be something that is going to keep me from telling my story because that's just part of my truth, that I've come from a very privileged family. I've also worked a lot of different jobs, and I've also, I feel like, had a lot of really not great habits and patterns with money. So I just really want my process and my journey that I'm sharing with you guys more and more to be that integration of magic and real life, which is why I say that Divinity Ranch is documenting real life magic. And there was a really great quote my cousin shared with me the other day from a really cool book. I think it's called Once and Future Witches. I haven't read it, but the quote was, "Magic is what happens in between what we have and what we need." And I really liked that. And I just want to invite you to come to that same place, as in, I always find that I have exactly what I need in miraculous ways. And, you know, some of those have been risk-taking. Some of those have maybe not been the best money practices. And yet, yes, I have always found that I've had exactly what I've needed. And it always comes when I'm willing to be vulnerable and do the work. And the most difficult part of the process is just being willing to go through the different phases. Because I think part of abundance, for instance, can be being able to feel the abundance of true presence and sitting in the discomfort of the times when you don't know where the money is going to come from, or you're in debt, or you're scared about money, or you feel scarcity. Being abundant isn't just about having lots of money in the bank at all times so that you always feel comfortable and confident. It can also be about finding the abundance and that calm and that faith, right? Having those, and also being willing to go out and find a job or do the work or do whatever is physically needed to bring that in as well. So I just always want to be a proponent of the middle road. And I think that those of you who have watched my channel have seen that there's been a lot of integration in that way, from lots of only spiritual considerations to trying to bring in sort of earthier, more practical considerations and marry those two together. Because as we know, just having a lot of money doesn't make people happy. There has to be this sense of service and sharing that is part of that. And also this sense of, for me, I'm excited, you know, for instance, of getting this new job and doing some really hard physical labor with my body as I'm also in the process of editing and formatting my book in my free time, and just working really hard and living pretty simply and finding a lot of moderation as I, you know, build my savings back up and pay off my credit card bill. And thankfully, I've always, you know, I'm not behind in credit card payments or anything like that. But it's sort of this idea of earning my own respect by doing the work when it's the proper time for it. And it's not that I haven't been doing work, as you guys know, for this past year. I mean, I've probably written 300,000 to 400,000 words since I've been living on the road. And I've also been able to show up and give service to a lot of people, which has been really amazing, including helping my parents for 3 weeks to move out of our childhood home. And if I had had a set job at that time, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So just looking forward to that meeting place of, what do you want to say? Like where the sweat meets the fairy dust, because I have no doubt that as soon as I start this job and get that sense of autonomy and hard work that comes from that there's also going to be a lot of beautiful miracles showing up because I was willing to show up and do the work, if that makes sense. So the other thing that Robin told me was that it's been so lovely to watch how much I've changed since I started this channel, and that, for instance, like how much things have changed from what I thought they were going to be, like me saying, oh, this is going to happen, or I'll do this. And then circumstances and maybe unconscious things become conscious. And so my trajectory changes, and being very fluid in that. And I just wanted to say that that is something that I really hope is what this channel conveys to people. Because, you know, sometimes for me, I go back and look at some of my early videos and I feel cringy because I'm like, oh man, like I really didn't get that then, or I was really spiritual bypassing too much, and I didn't know as much about boundaries then, or I was hoping for miracles, or I was hoping to receive without giving what I have to give too much, or, things like that. However, the message that I always hope to convey, and that I know my book will convey as well, because, my writings from the beginning of starting to live in my van are so different from the kind of writings that I'm doing now. And yet they're the same flavor, just from a different perspective of experience. And what I want to share with you guys is that wherever we are in the process, it's true and perfect at the time. And I just so often think the biggest challenge is just to accept wherever we are in the process, and also accept that every part of the process up to this point has brought us here. I'm not going to look at my videos from the past and say, oh, that was stupid, or I wish I wouldn't have done that, because that just shows that I didn't know anything then. That was true for me at the time, and every single part of this process has led me to where I am now. And I feel like I've grown a lot in being able to integrate utilitarian, practical, earthy kind of concerns, things like boundaries and relationships and money, which are very much part of life here on earth, and that is my approach to it. And so take what works for you and leave the rest, being able to integrate that with all of my spiritual and magical inclinations and learnings, and find that middle way, because I absolutely do believe in magic. And I also absolutely do believe in just the natural, almost like, so I believe in the beautiful miracles and magic that are always coming. And I sometimes think those are to be found in like hard, consistent processes and work, in the way of, so often miracles are just couched in things that we would think are bad things, right? Or boring, or when we seem to have come to a complete halt, or there's a great adversity. And so often that's where the miracle is really couched, in this simple acceptance of that being part of the overall process. And as we know, if we could zoom all the way out, the overall process is a perfect, cosmic, balanced miracle. And so, yeah, I just loved that Robin said that, because I have never wanted the flavor of my videos. And it's difficult for me, right? Because don't we all like being right? And, feeling like we're in control and like we have all the answers, and surrendering to really just leaving any videos that I've made out there and writings, because I want people to see the process, and that every step of the way is necessary for that big picture. So I just want to thank you for all of the different truths that you've gone through to get to this point in your process. And I want to remind you, like Robin reminded me in our conversation, it was just so beautiful to reflect to each other how much we've inspired each other. And I want to remind you that you doing your best and just showing up and being with what is, and doing that hard work of surrender and acceptance and presence, and focus on whatever's in front of you, and doing your best in that, really and truly is making the way for miracles, even if you don't see and know. You're inspiring people and plants and animals and divine universal consciousness more than you could even know. And I just want to remind you of that, and that it's not about being right. It's about continuing to learn and grow and expand, and notice patterns that are asking to be made even more expansive, and noticing lessons that are asking to be learned, and trusting that life and the moment, they are our greatest teachers. And we don't really have to try. I don't think it's so much about trying or being perfect as just literally being willing to be wherever we are. And of course, that is where the magic happens, because we always find, this goes back to it, that no matter how much stress or how much uncertainty, or maybe we're in an uncomfortable part of the process with things like money or relationships or our job. And yet the magic does happen when we see it's in that place between what we have and what we need. Because if we're really willing to be wherever we are at this moment, if we're breathing, if we're here, if we're alive, the magic is realizing that we already have everything that we need. And when we realize we don't need anything else than what we have, miraculous things come into our lives. You know, it's like that second where we're, just quick example, and I'm going to wrap this up. But the other day, I thought about a friendship that has been one of my closest friendships in my life, and one that ended a couple of years ago. And I had this really strong feeling of like, you know what? I'm just truly, truly willing to let that go. I'm truly willing to be thankful for all that was in my life, and I don't need to prove that that's something I can rekindle or to look for that. I'm thankful for what it was, and I felt myself let it go. And that person texted me the next day. So, you know, it's just an example of when we realize that we don't need any more, so often that's when the miracles come. So yeah, just to wrap this up, it's basically that as far as money goes and the way that I've been living, and again, acknowledging all the privilege in my life and all of these things, and that everyone's context and situation is different, I just want for you to find that meeting place between being practical and being miraculous, because that is where the magic happens. And so in answer to Robin's question, yes, I've always had enough. And the ways that I've always had enough and that's all been miraculous have become ever more me learning more practical ways to approach things and more patterns, and being both humbled by showing up to do the work myself, and then the miracles that come when that happens. And so it's basically like, yes, leap and the net will appear, and keep leaping. And that energy of that explosive leap and how much that tires your legs out, and the fear of taking that jump, that's your part that you bring to it. There's always your part that you bring to it. And I promise, whenever you are authentic in being willing to learn more and let go more and grow more, you will always have enough. And again, when it comes down to it, if you're here and you're breathing and you're able to listen to this or read it on the screen in subtitles and be here, you must have enough. And we always will, as long as we're living on this planet. And then in the instant we die, it's on to the next. So thank you, Robin, for inspiring me to record a video. It's been a long time, and I wanted to chat with you guys because most of the work that I've been doing has been in the background on writing and recording. And I just want to thank you for being along with this journey and remind you that you can do it. You can do it. The hardest part is just being willing to be there for that step that's right in front of you. And there's always so much to learn and so many ways to grow. And remember that the adversity and the hard times, just being willing to be with those, that's where that growth really takes place. And that's where you become that little shining candle in the dark. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I am so inspired by you. Thank you for being a part of my journey and letting me be a part of yours. Next time I talk to you will probably be from New Mexico.